And I was inspired by the aerobatics so much, the aerobatic flying, that later on in life, I would go into competitive aerobatic flying with a Pitts special. I had an extra 300 and eventually made the U.S. Advanced Aerobatic team and competed at the World Championships in 1999 for the U.S. Again, being inspired by models and thinking ahead, where can I go with this? How much fun am I having? The discipline, the science, it was all very intriguing. So modeling has always been a part of my life. Now, the segue from modeling to full-scale aerobatics also got me into flying warbirds. The way that happened is at one of the contests, the U.S. National Championships in Grayson County, Texas, there was a gentleman, a United Airlines pilot named Phil Shaft. He was a part of a group called the Commemorative Air Force. And for those of you who don't know, the Commemorative Air Force flies the world's largest fleet of World War II aircraft. And basically the mission of the CAF is to preserve the history and talk about the men and women who basically went out and fought for this country and protected our freedoms. And Phil from Minneapolis said there's a CAF squadron or wing restoring a Mustang, and they want to paint it up in Tuskegee colors. And your dad was Tuskegee, I've met him, and you're flying tail draggers. You think you might be interested in flying a Mustang? Well, if you're an aviator, you don't have to think twice about that option. And I told Phil that I would be very interested in getting on board with that project, which I joined in 1997. A little bit more about the CAF, just for you folks, just briefly. It's a group of volunteers, 11,000 volunteers around the world. There are 70 chapters or wings throughout the world. Headquarters is located in Midland, Odessa, Texas. And then you have all these other chapters supporting headquarters. Each chapter has a fleet of aircraft, World War II aircraft. Some of the aircraft are observation airplanes like L-5s. Some are trainers like the BT-13, basic trainer. And others support bombers and fighters. The wing that I joined in Minneapolis had this aircraft that they actually purchased, or actually was given to them by the Bozeman State College in Montana. It was a vocational tool, surplus, declared surplus in 1945 and picked up by the school to teach their kids about avionics and aviation science. The CAF got a hold of this airframe, and started to restore it. Now, in the process of the restoration, our wing has a B-25, and some of the B-25 pilots said that the aircraft was escorted by the Tuskegee Airmen. Wouldn't it be great to have a chapter or wing that has not only the B-25, but a Mustang that supports and escorts the bomber? And that's why they decided to go with the red tail paint scheme. The other reason is we had a gentleman by the name of Don Hines. He was a very successful businessman in Minnesota, also a naval aviator. He flew A-7s. And Don was so inspired by the lessons of the Tuskegee Airmen and learning that they overcame so much adversity and had so many hurdles, but they were actually able to do such a great job. Eventually they were requested by the white bomber crews. And Don thought what an inspirational message it would be to show people that when you think you're down and you've got the outs and things aren't really going well, think about these gentlemen who had the entire country working against them. A flight program set up to prove that blacks couldn't fly combat aircraft, but they came through, achieved, they aspired, persisted, were dedicated, and were able to show that, hey, listen, skin color doesn't apply when you want to actually go out and fight for your country. It's about your heart and your service and your dedication. So the inspirational message that Don Hines thought about was to take this as an educational tool, reach out to people at airports and let them see the aircraft, get the attention, and meet actual Tuskegee Airmen who were actually there to support the aircraft. And what we do is we try to take the aircraft out and inspire people. And unfortunately, in May 2004, at an air show in Red Wing, Minnesota, we had a catastrophic engine failure. And in that failure, Don actually crashed the aircraft and lost his life. We had a small part in the back of our Rolls-Royce Merlin engine that actually separated, so the engine wasn't producing power. And Don was setting up to glide back to the airport, and he crashed into a group of Christmas trees, evergreens. He never regained consciousness. But again, he was so intent on telling the story about the airmen that he gave his life to do this.